need to tell me if you're here.
Your thing on.
Hi, welcome to business time. Good to see you. I see some persons are here and right on time. That's good. We're going to some time to come on. Spread the news. We're going to be talking about the business Cognate SBA because everybody. So spread the news. Tell some persons to come on. First consultation, some persons were saying that they needed help with their SBA. And our first consultation, we did that via Google Meet. So I'm going to be doing it live this time around so that persons can, look at the recording afterwards and all of that. So we're going to give persons a few minutes to come on and then we get started. I know persons have questions. So this is an opportunity for persons to ask their questions. Anything that you want to ask, anything that you're not clear about, you can pose your questions here and I'll try my best to answer them. All right, so you can text in the chat. All right. I know it can be overwhelming, to do your SBA, but guess what? You just want to be clear, and with hard work, you are going to do SBA. So you don't need to worry about it. I'm here to help you. Remember, the SBA will be out of 40. Your mark scheme, the total marks is out of the total marks, yes, is out of 40. But the final grade is 20% towards your final grade. And so we're going to work on it. We're going to work at it and make sure that you at least get 30 out of the 40 marks. It's very important. So I want you tell your friends, tell a friend to tell a friend, and let's talk about the SBA. Don't miss this opportunity. I will not be able to have another consultation session on the SBA. This is the second and final one. All right. So I need persons to come on board. Remember, you can chat, say, welcome, good to have you, spread the news, and let's talk. And I want you to pose your questions, type your questions in the chat. Any questions you have at all about the SBA, and I'm here for you because you're going to do well on your SBA. So we're going to work on it together. Need you to do very well. And I think that's a teacher's heart, wanting the students to do well no matter what. So spread the news. I'm going to give about 5 more minutes and then we get started. So how I'm going to do this is that I'm going to go through the different sections of the mark scheme. And if you have any question on each section, I want you to pose your questions and I'll try to answer as many questions as I possibly can. Okay? So tell your friends, those who need to be on the live stream, need to come on board so that they can have their questions answered. And I'll do my best. The SBA is something that you can do well at. Most importantly, have to make sure that you do not wait until the last minute to get your SBA done. You have to start working on it from now. Work on each section, perfect each section, right? Don't just do a part of a section, but make sure that you do the entire section. Every mark counts. And if you look on the mark scheme, if you don't have access to the mark scheme, you can look at it in my SBA videos and you will see, even though you'll see a section is for 1 mark, 2 marks, 4 marks or so on, don't take those 1 mark lightly. Those marks add up. All right. And that can determine whether you get a good mark or not. So just work on it. Just make sure that you do all that you can. Going to give about another minute or so. So spread the news. Tell your friends. We're going to be talking about the SBA. Some of you have your questions. There are some things that are not yet clear in your minds and you might want to ask. I'm here for you. Don't be shy. You just post your questions right there in the chat. And I'm here now. We will get through. Well, you don't want to hear me sing. I can't sing here. And when I start singing, my students know, my God, why? Miss needs to stop. Alrighty. So we're 6 minutes into our live. And at the 7th minute, we're going to get started. $4:05 now. Are you sharing? Make sure that you're sharing the information. Well, the recording will be on my channel, so from time to time, persons can go back and check on the recordings. And you can say hi when you come on. All right, so don't be afraid to communicate with me. I'm here for you. Are you hearing me clearly? Type yes in the chat if you are hearing me clearly. Are you hearing me clearly? Type yes in the chat. Okay, great. All right. So one person responded yes. All right, good. So let's get started now. Now, it's very important. Do not start working on your SBA without a copy of the mark scheme. Make sure that you have a copy of the mark scheme. If you do not have it, you can send me an email and I can send it to you. It's most important. You need to see it. There's no secret in terms of what you're to do, how much each section is worth, how much marks, each section is worth. You need to have that. You need to be guided by that. That's exactly what CXC is going to mark your SBA from, right? So you need to have it. So you just shoot me an email to Mail Business Time if you need a copy of the mark scheme and I'll send it to you. All right. So in looking at the mark scheme, there are sections there that you must make sure it's done and that you must make sure that those sections are done properly. Now, the first thing on your mark scheme is a table of contents, and that is worth 1 mark. Yes, the 1 mark there is extremely important. Make sure you have your table of content. And of course, you'll do that when you're finished. Make sure you do that when you're finished and you're able to number your pages. It's important that you number your pages correctly. So you don't want to have your objectives on page 5. And in your table of content, I see where you say your objective is on page 10. So it's always best to do your table of contents when you're finished writing up everything so that you get your page numbers correct. Okay. All right. Now, the topic, the issue, the problem. Remember now, your topic must be based on a topic from the syllabus, right? From the subject area that you're doing. So for example, if you do principles of business, well, you'd want to select a topic that is linked to principles of business, like leadership styles. So in principles of business, you're going to talk about leadership style. If you're doing economics, you want to select, a topic that is covered in economics, and accounting. You could look at how businesses keep accounting records or something like that. So ensure that your topic is something that you want to seek to get an answer for. So, for example, a topic could be, and I put this in the example in the first SBA video on leadership style. What about leadership styles you want to find out in the organization? You may want to find out how the leadership style impact the workers. Is it that they, based on the leadership style used, is it motivating the workers? Do the workers feel like, say this manager here in just turn bad, he does not even consult us, he just go ahead and make a decision or something like that. So you want to make sure, you see, that um you do a good investigation. So your research topic is on an issue or something that you would love to find out, or something that you observe. Why is it that there has been an increase in prices of food at your school's cafeteria? That's a big issue for students. Sometimes you'll hear them say, especially when the canteen is not run by the school, but it's run by somebody else. No, these people are there to make money. Yeah? And money for them is profit. No, you want to find out. You want to find out. It's a genuine question. Why is it that there is a price increase every year? And it's not like your parents income is being increased every year. And so you want to also be comfortable as possible with the topics that you're going to use. And I know for some schools the topics are given and students get to select one of the topics, or students can just come up with their own topics or whichever way. You understand me? Select the best one, the one that you're most comfortable with, and you will be okay. All right. So remember now, your topic or your issue or your problem is clearly stated. So the leadership style. I mean, how does the leadership style impact the productivity of the organization or something like that? So when I look at your topic, I should be able to clearly understand where you're going with this, what it is that you want to find out. I should not just be there and wondering what is it, what are you saying. So it must be clear. And having a very good topic is 2 marks, just like that. You don't want to have a topic, say you do your topic, I end up with 1 mark. That cannot work. All right. So make sure that you cover your topic properly. Remember to stop me. Well, I'll keep watching the chat. So if you have a question on it, post the questions and I will respond to it. Okay. Now, so make sure that your topic is a good one and it's clear. All right. And your objectives, no, your objectives are clearly stated and linked to the topic. And it says objectives. Make sure that you don't have less than 2 objectives. Okay. Now, your objectives must be linked to your topic. So your topic cannot be on leadership style and then your objective is to find out how much money the business is making. Something is wrong. That will not give you any mark at all. And so you have to ensure that whatever what your objectives are, they are directly linked to your topic. So if the topic is on leadership style, then your objective must be based on leadership style. Your objectives are what will give you answers for your topic, whatever it is that you're researching on. So for your objectives, with a topic on leadership styles, you can say, all right, one of the objectives could be to identify the leadership style that is used in so and so grocery store. Maybe that's the name of a business, could be in your community, whichever organization you are investigating. You have to ensure that, also put the name of the organization. Yeah, that helps too. All right. So you want to make sure that your objectives are linked to your topic. And you need to use descriptive verbs when you're looking at your objectives, like describe the leadership style, identify the leadership style, analyze how the leadership style impact the workers or impact the performance of the business. So make sure that you use descriptive verbs. Don't just put down leadership style in the business. No, right? To identify the leadership styles that are used in so and so business. So you have to make sure that that is clear, right? So your topic, your objectives must be linked, because we're not going to lose 2 marks. We have to get the full 2 marks. That's what you're working for. All right. So that's it for the topic. That's it for the objectives. No. The next section of the SBA is the background or the overview. No, I remembered somebody was saying that they were looking at the background and they only did a section of it. No, listen. The background and the overview, the total marks is 2. The total marks is the total mark is 4. You get 4 marks. No, if you don't do everything, want to just go have a 1 out of 4. You don't want to just have a 2 out of 4. You don't want to have just a 3 out of 4. You want to have a 4 out of 4. Listen, you're working for the full marks. We're not working for no half mark, and we're not working for no 1 mark if it's not a 1 mark section. Good? So let's look at the background and objective now. You have to make sure that you get it fully. All right? So the background, the first part of the background says, include a description of the topic, the issue, or the problem. Description includes the history, and that's 1 mark for that. Description, and that's another 1 mark. No, the description. Let's say you are investigating or doing the research on a business in your community. You can give a brief little history on the business. Perhaps when it started, who are the owners, what type of business it is, something like that. No, the issue now that you're looking at. Let's say you're looking at price increases. Why them people here, and some person say them thiefy, because every time they're raising the price. But is it that they're thieves, or it's a genuine reason why the prices are going up? So what we can do in a situation like that is to find out, has other businesses been increasing their prices? If you check in your country, is there a general price increase? If you check worldwide, have prices been going up every year? So no, we need to look at the development, what has been happening, because you have to show, right, that something is happening which is causing the increase in prices. So whatever it is that you're researching on, you need to give a little history on it. Show what it was 5 years before, what it was 10 years before. If you can get information on what it was in the past, it will give you a very good idea of what it is today, and could give you some answers, in terms of why things are the way they are today. So make sure that you show the development. No, the development that you're going to show is not directly linked at this point to the specific business that you're researching. It is linked to the situation on a global scale, on a national scale. So is it just the school canteen that's raising the prices? Other businesses? Why? You understand? So there seem to be, and then perhaps you would discover now that there have been price increases in general. Now, what will help with this section is that you cite sources. Now, where would you have gotten this information? You'd have gotten it from perhaps in the newspaper. You might have read it in some magazine or in some book. or somebody might have done a previous research that they did on price increases, and you cite your source according to the Jamaica Gleaner. Yeah, whatever year. Look in the video, you would have seen one of the SBA videos. You would have seen where I showed you how to do how to cite your sources, which is critical because you didn't come up with this on your own, right? And so these are some of the information that you're going to put in your bibliography. So you need to cite your sources and state where you get information from. So according to Jamaica Gleaner 2018, it stated that businesses have had to increase, or businesses in the food industry have had to increase their prices due to the increase in price for raw material, like flour, eggs, whatever, So you must show that development on the issue over time. And remember, no, this section, the development is not focusing on the specific or particular business that you are doing the investigation on, but you're going to look at it in terms of, have other businesses been increasing their prices? All right. So make sure. So that is it for the first section of the background and overview. That's just 2 marks you work for already, though. So that is why it's important that you make sure you check on your other all the sections. Do every part of the SBA. Okay. The second part of the background and overview now is that you must establish the need for the research. And for you to establish the need for the research, there are 2 things that are required of you. The first one, how or why is the topic, issue, problem important to you as the student? And that's 1 mark, 1 very important mark, right? And the second part is the impact of the topic, the issue, the problem on society. So why is the topic important to you as the student? You're basically saying, all right, what's the benefit? So in other words, what's the benefit to you doing this kind of research? What would you gain from it? So I mean, you could say that you as a student will become more knowledgeable of how, hi Deontay, become more knowledgeable in terms of what's happening as it relates to the prices. Yes, Deontay, I'm planning to save the live and have it on my channel. Okay, great. So you want to make sure now that you right. So you're doing this as a student. It's beneficial to you because you'll gain greater insight on the issue that you're investigating. You will have a better understanding of how, prices affect businesses, and, why businesses from time to time have to increase their prices. Good. So no matter write anything. Oh, I just remember that it's not only Jamaicans on this channel. All right. I'm not going to speak Patois here. All right. So what you are required to do now is to just make sure that you indicate how you are going to benefit. Why is it so important to you? Right? Because this is something that, and also impact of topic, issue, problem on society. If the price increase in the canteen, how is it going to impact society? Yes, it's going to impact society because when you think about it, when the students have to pay these increased costs for food, it's going to affect their parents' pockets. And so now, parents might have to now do several things. They might have to go get a second job. Hope if that is ever possible, because parents are working so hard, they really can't do anything more, or you might have to start bringing lunch. So this thing doesn't only affect those who are directly attached to the business that you're investigating, but it has a wider impact on the society. Right? So not only will it impact, say, for example, the issue with the canteen prices, it will not only impact you the students, but it's going to impact your parents. It's going to impact uh, other things, just like that. So there's a ripple effect. So you must make sure, when it comes to the background and overview, listener, make sure you answer all the sections. Make sure you describe include some description in terms of the business that you're investigating, and the development. Make sure you look at the issue. If it's leadership styles you're looking at, look at the history for over 10 years or 20 years. What leadership style was more dominant in society? What is it that, what type of leadership styles are the businesses more inclined to use now? So you want to show up development of whatever the issue is that you're looking at. All right, great. So that's background and overview. We're not joking with the sections of the SBA. Yes, Raphael. Raphaelia. I'm hoping I pronounce your name properly. Don't kill me here. All right. So now that was a little bit loud, don't it? Sometimes they tell me I'm so loud. I guess it's a teacher in me. Never mind. All right. So the next section that we are going to look at is the methodology. The methodology. Now, the methodology alone is 10 marks. Whole heap of marks, a lot of marks. And we have to make sure that we capitalize on it and get all the 10 marks that we need to have. No, the thing is that for some of the points, you can end up with 2 marks, or you can end up with just 1 mark. And you don't want that. You don't want that. So let's look at the first part here for the methodology. Data collection instrument clearly described. Data collection instrument appropriate for type of data, and included at least 2 instruments of data collection. I missed that. I'm looking at the mark scheme. Include at least 2 instruments of data collection. Now, the data collection method that you are using instrument that you're using must be able to give you the answers that you need for your research. And the common ones are like the questionnaire, interview. I tell my students, hey, use the easiest ones. Right now, even if you want to do like observation or some other method, it can be a little difficult, especially with what's happening with COVID, and persons can't really meet face to face. And if you are going to give questionnaires, people might not necessarily want you around them. But the good thing is that you can do your questionnaire online now, and you just send it off to somebody and they just fill it out and they just send it back to you. With technology, a lot can be done. And even if you have to conduct an interview, you can conduct the interview via telephone. You can call in, find out from the person when is it convenient for you to talk to them. All right. Now, make sure that you have 2 instruments, not 1, 2 instruments. So you have the questionnaire as one, you have the interview as one, or you can do any other instrument that your teacher approves. Right? Or via Zoom, Deontay. Yes. You can conduct those. You can conduct that via Zoom or Google Forms. Very good. Or use Google Forms, right, to send out the questionnaire. The questionnaires. Yes. Excellent suggestions. Right. So the technology, it can help us, right? How we get our things done quickly. So we have settled that. I'm hoping that we understand that we must have at least 2 instruments, right? No 1 instrument around here, only 2. All right. No. The other part that they require you to do is that data collection instrument must be appropriate for type of data. You want to make sure that you justify, why are you using a questionnaire? Why are you using the interview? No, one other thing, you want to describe the instrument as is required by CXC here, right? You want to describe it. So a questionnaire is an instrument that is used where you pose questions to whatever. No, if you get the definition from the internet, or if you get the definition from a book, you must cite the source again. You understand me? So according to MacLeod, for example, according to MacLeod 2018, a questionnaire is a research instrument consisting of a series of questions for the purpose of gathering information. Right. Because guess what? CXC and your teachers know that is not you come up with that definition. So make sure that you come up with a definition for what is a questionnaire, what is an interview, whichever instrument you are using. Make sure that you describe it, you justify it. The questionnaire is most appropriate because it will help you to gather relevant information from this directly from the source that you are, or from the respondents that you need to get that information from. So you want to show that the questionnaire or whatever instruments you are using, you want to show that they are very much appropriate for you to get the necessary information for your research. Okay, so data collection instrument appropriate for type of data. You're right. You tell that why it's appropriate. Method of data collection clearly described. Method of data collection adequately justified. And limitations of data collection method clearly stated. Now listen, we don't live in a perfect world. Neither are we perfect. And so when you're conducting a research, sometimes you're going to meet up on some issues, some hurdles, right? So for example, should the interview be written in the methodology? No. Your interview questions and your it must be in the SBA in an appendix at the back. So you're not putting in the questionnaire or the interview questions with the answers, You're just putting in the questionnaire that you would have just done up without them being answered. You just put them in the back in the appendix. So whenever anybody is marking, so sometimes when I'm checking my students' questionnaire and interview, I need to make sure that the questionnaire and interview line up with the objectives. And so that brings me to a point. Hi, Nicole, welcome. That brings me to a point. Now listen, you see those questions for your questionnaire and interview? Them come from somewhere. Where you think them come from? Somebody type it in the chat. Tell me where the questions, and apart from your head, your brain, where are you going to look to write up your questions for your questionnaire and your interview for your instruments? What should we look for? What are we going to connect them to? Anybody have any idea? If we are going to do let's say it's time now for us to write up the questionnaire questions, to write up the interview questions. What are we going to look at to help us to write those questions, or to help us to come up with relevant, appropriate questions? I'm looking at the chat and I don't see anybody typing. Yes, Mackenzie, the objectives. Great. All right. So you have to make sure that your questions come from your objective. Now, one of the things that you can do is that you can have a few questions to gather some demographic information. For example, yes, Chief, the objectives. Yes, great. I like that. You're all sharp. All right. So you have to make sure now that the questions come from the objectives, because remember, you're seeking answers for the objectives, which will ultimately answer the topic that you are looking at. All right. Yes, Teddy Bear. Good. We're coming on. We're catching on. Great. So, for example, let's say one of your objectives. was to identify the leadership style that's used in the business. A possible question could be, let's say you are going to use the questionnaire, you're going to give it to the workers in the business. So one of the questions on the questionnaire could be something like, which leadership style do you believe, or which leadership style is used by your supervisor or manager um, in the business? And you can give them options: democratic, autocratic, laissez-faire. No, some of the workers might not necessarily understand what those terms mean. They might not necessarily know what autocratic means. I mean, that an autocratic leader just tell you what to do and does not entertain questions or suggestions from you. And so you might want to, specify, for example, make it simple, depending on who or what level, who are the persons that you're giving the questionnaire to. For example, the leader does not take suggestions from workers. Anybody can easily relate to that, but you know that that is autocratic. Or you could do that and you could put autocratic beside it. So you want to make it as simple as possible. So as I said before, so make sure that you have at least 2 or 3 questions on each objective. Minimum 2. You understand me? You don't want to have no unnecessary questions there that will not help you, because at the end of the day, the questions will help you with your analysis when it's time to analyze your data. Good. Let me see. Oh, so I was going to make mention of the methodology. So what I was saying is that there are issues from time to time. Your people, whether they're at the university level, doing first degree or master's degree, they're going to come across some obstacles. They're going to have some problems. And so you might have a situation where you distributed or you sent out 15 questionnaires. However, only 10 of the questionnaires were returned. What are you going to do? Kill yourself? Not at all. That is a limitation. Not all the questionnaires were returned. And so sometimes this will affect your ability to generalize. And so there are genuine limitations, right? And you need to make mention of them. Yeah. And also another issue could be a difficulty in getting to speak to relevant persons or persons that would be the best person to speak with. Sometimes you really want to do an interview with one of the top managers, but for some reason they're quote unquote busy, or perhaps they think that they're not necessarily going to make time for that. And so these are some of the genuine limitations. Put them in, right? I don't know of anybody doing a research and I've never come across any limitations. These are real. So make sure. The reason why I'm saying this is that you must make sure that you put limitations in the question in your methodology section. And limitations, the mark is from 1 to 2, right? So make sure you put your limitations so that you can get your full 2 marks. Okay? So we're not going to because we didn't do it properly, we're not going to cause ourselves to lose any mark. We're going for the full 2 marks. Good. So you just do that for your methodology. Let me see if there's anything. I'm looking at my notes here to see if there's anything I need to highlight. If anything is missing, you can watch it on the SBA video as well, to get some more info on that. I don't see any questions in the chat, so I think that should I assume that I'm pretty clear on that? I've been clear. You understand what I'm saying? All right. For the presentation and analysis, of data. Now, this is where, when you get your questionnaires, when you get the responses, you're going to need to put your information together, put the data together for it to make sense. As it is on the questionnaire, just the answers on a questionnaire, it doesn't say much. But when you're able now to put all the information together, then you are able to fully understand and communicate what it is saying. And therefore, the need to present your data and the need to analyze your data. Now, presentation of data. All right, the first thing that you would need to do when you collect back your instruments, you need to put down, all right, for each question, how many persons said selected autocratic leadership style, how many persons selected democratic, how many persons selected laissez-faire, or whatever the options you had on your questionnaire, your interview. And then you're going to present that. And remember, you can present your data in the form of tables, charts, or graphs. So you would say, perhaps, okay, it shows that out of 10 persons, let's say 5 persons said democratic, and 3 persons said autocratic, and 2 persons said laissez-faire. Then you'd have to look at then you will do your graph or your chart or whatever it is that you're using to show that. So let's say you put, if you want to use a bar graph or whatever it is, and of course you have to make sure you properly label them. You label your x-axis properly, you label your y-axis properly, so that when I look at your chart that you are presenting, your diagram that you're presenting, I can see clearly by looking at the diagram alone. I should see a key and be able to understand fully well that, oh, it's 5 based on what I'm seeing on this chart or graph. I am seeing that, oh, it's 5 persons said democratic. Oh, it's 3 persons said autocratic. It's 2 persons said laissez-faire. So anybody looking at your graph or your chart or table that you have presented, it must be clear. It must be clearly communicated. All right. Now, I will normally advise persons to do the analysis right there under each chart or graph that you have presented. You can always put the analysis section somewhere else, but it helps, and it helps you to not overlook anything when you just analyze each graph or chart immediately. Also, remember to label your graph or your charts, figure 1, figure 2, table 1, whatever it is. So the analysis section now, remember the example. So let's say you present your data in a bar graph. The analysis section under that would be like 5 or say 50%. Remember, we had said initially that 5, so you would show on the graph that on the bar graph that 5 out of 10 said democratic. So when you're analyzing that, you would simply say something like 50% of the respondents indicated that the leadership style used in the organization is democratic, right? And you work it out like that. And if it's a question that you can use the mode, the mean, or the median, as I showed you in the SBA video part 2, you can do that, right? But most teachers have just been analyzing the data by using percentages. CXC is not necessarily big on the mean, the median, and the mode for you to do that. But if it's a question that you can analyze and use some median, or you analyze it by using the mode and all of that, I would recommend that you do it. But in most cases, it's the percentages that are used. So for your data that you have presented in the graphs or charts, use raw figures like 5, 10, and when you're analyzing it, you use the percentages. 50% said that, so on and so on. 20% said no. 80% said yes when you're analyzing your data. That's the analysis section. Good. So you don't need to be confused with that. So data is presented in appropriate tables, charts, graphs. Data presented are relevant to the objectives of the project. And of course, your data will be relevant to the objectives of your project because you would have created your questionnaire and your interview or whatever instrument questions based on the objective. So it had to link, it has to link to the objectives. And so right there, you end up with your 2 marks, your full 2 marks. Data is adequately data presented are relevant to the objectives of the project. That's your full 2 marks. Right? Data is analyzed using appropriate statistics, mean, median, mode. And as I said before, if you use percentages, CXC will accept that. And findings are consistent with analysis. Now, this is key. If you said that 5 persons indicated that it's the democratic leadership style that is used, and in your analysis section, you go say, you say something like 70% indicated that it's the democratic leadership style that's used. No, that's not what is being presented on your diagram, on your chart. That's not what is being presented in your table, in your charts, or your graphs. So you have to make sure that whatever you say in the analysis section matches with what is in the chart or the graph or the table that you have presented. Critical, key. All right. So that's it for the presentation and analysis of data part. No, any questions so far? Or we're good? Looks like we're good. We're good. Okay. Now the conclusion. The conclusion. You have to make your conclusion based on your findings. In other words, based on what you analyzed. So, for example, if from the data that is presented and what is analyzed, we realize that 50% of the respondents indicated that the democratic leadership style is used in the organization. Naturally, your conclusion will have to be made from that. If it was not indicated or that is not proven in your analysis or in your presentation of data, you cannot conclude otherwise. It must be so. So if I'm looking, or if a CXC examiner is marking your SBA and they see you conclude something, what they're going to do to find out if what you concluded is actually correct is that they're going to look at your presentation of data, and they're also going to look at what you have analyzed, what it is that you have said. So everything has to tie in, right? So your conclusion, and what I normally say, make your conclusion based on your objectives. You cannot go wrong if you do that. If one of your objective was to identify the leadership style that's used in the business, so what would be the conclusion? Based on what we have been saying, is that we can conclude that so initially I said, what if we got data that says 50% use democratic leadership style, let's say 30% use autocratic, and how much no 20% use laissez-faire, then can we conclude that is democratic leadership style that's used in the business? No. What we can conclude is that the democratic leadership style is mostly used in the business. And so we have to be very careful on what we are concluding on. So you can't say it's Democrat leadership style that is used, because according to some of the respondents to the questionnaires or the interview or whatever instrument you use, they said also that the autocratic leadership style is used. And so you need to indicate as well that other leadership styles are used, like the autocratic and the laissez-faire. However, the more dominant one in the organization is democratic. And so you have to just make sure that you conclude properly. So you get 2 marks for a conclusion that summarizes the project. So doing your conclusion based on your objectives is going to help you summarize the project. You cannot go wrong. So even if you want to put first objective to identify leadership style using a business, and you make your conclusion right there, you're good to go. For your second objective, how the leadership style impact the workers, and you write your conclusion, which is based on what you have analyzed and what you have figured out from what you have analyzed, right? So your conclusion at the end of the day is going to link to your objectives. And by looking at your findings and what you have analyzed, it's going to be linked to your objectives, because everything that you have done up to this point was linked. Everything you have done, they all were linked to your objectives. All right. Now, the recommendations. Recommendations are realistic and informed by findings. Recommendations contribute to a better understanding of the topic or the issue, and that's 4 marks. Listen, we're not going to lose those 4 marks. So let's say, no, if you're going to recommend something, again, whatever you're recommending must be from what you concluded. So what do I mean by this? So let's say you concluded, and of course you'll get this information from your findings. So let's say you concluded that the democratic leadership style that's used in the organization is causing the workers to be demotivated. Let's say we find out, that's what we found out based on the feedback we got. So the democratic leadership style is causing the workers to be demotivated. Then listen now, what we would have to recommend in a situation like that is that the leaders change the leadership style that they are using from democratic to one that is most appropriate, that will help the workers to be motivated. Because if you're getting a negative result from what you're using or doing, it simply means that you have to change. So your recommendation don't just come out of the blue or what you feel like. What could I recommend for this business? I could recommend that they increase the prices. I could recommend that they hire more workers, but hold on. That's not what the SBA was about. That's not what your topic was about, right? So your recommendation must be linked to your conclusion, which is linked to your objectives. So your recommendation must not just come out of your head. You just say something because you feel good. No, your recommendations must come from your conclusion. And of course, our conclusion would be most appropriate, because our conclusion came from whatever we concluded, it came from the analysis of data and the presentation of data. And guess what? It must be correct, because our presentation of data and analysis of data came from our instruments. And it must be correct because our instruments, the questions came from our objectives. And guess what? It must be correct because our objectives came from our topic. So you see, there must be a link. Everything must be linked. All right? Alrighty. So now bibliography, it is important. Make sure your bibliography, you see, some persons might say, bibliography is just one man. Nah, do not need a man. I vex, and it's not even me. Listen, your 1 mark is a big deal. So make sure that you do your bibliography and do it properly. In my SBA video part 2, the part 2.1, I showed you how to do your bibliography. So if at all throughout the SBA, you cited sources from whether newspaper, from a book, from an article, from the website, wherever, you must now put the information in it. We don't joke about those things. Your bibliography must look good, look nice, and show everything that you used. All right. So let's say, and the CXC wants your bibliography. It must have the name of the authors, name of publishers, name and date of publication, and must be written in alphabetical order. I use the APA format. It's safe when you do, right? And so make sure, critical, your bibliography line up alphabetically. Make sure it line up alphabetically. So if the source's last name starts with A must be at the top. And if you have 2A, you make sure how you put things in order alphabetically. AB, AC, make sure you put it in the right order. For overall presentation, you get 2 marks. Consistently using correct spelling and grammar, expression of ideas logical and unambiguous. Now listen, I don't know if any of you are like me. Sometimes when I'm finished writing, I don't usually pick up all the grammatical errors. Sometimes it's good when you get somebody else to read it over for you, and you're doing your SBA in groups. Listen, ensure that everybody has access to the SBA so that they can read it through. And if you can get somebody outside of your group, who you think has a good command of the English language, let them read it. Hello, I call that 2 free marks, because you get 1 mark for consistently using correct spelling and grammar. You get another mark for expression of ideas logical and unambiguous. Now listen, I always stay in the safe zone. I keep it simple. You don't want to go use any big words and use it out of context. And then somebody says, but this doesn't mean anything. This doesn't make any sense. What are you saying here? So my suggestion to you is that you write in the language that you speak, how you speak. All right. So you keep it simple and make sure that it is clearly communicated, clearly written. Nobody has to ask or has to wonder what it is that you are saying. Right. And that's 2 marks. Expression of ideas logical. Yeah, man. No, I know. So basically, that's it with the Mackenzie. Yes, it's true. No, I know that some persons are very concerned about. Listen, man, these people that are in my group, they're driving me crazy. That kind of thing. No, I don't want you to allow any of your group members to drive you crazy. You're the only one who's to drive yourself crazy because you want perfection and you work so hard at it. My suggestion to you is that you do not do that SBA by yourself. Do not. And also, if you give a group member a section of the SBA to do, so let's say you give a group member the methodology part to do, are you just going to accept whatever the person turns in without the group members, the rest of you looking back through it to make sure that there are no errors or that it's done properly? Listen up. You see, whatever is done is going to affect my grade. And so I would want to make sure that everything that my group members submit, I want to see it too. It's no secret, because if you write foolishness, you are going to affect my final score. And so make sure that my school allows us to do it individually. Okay, great. So you all have yourself to fight with, Mackenzie. But guess what? My school, the girls, I teach only girls. They have to, for the most part, they do it in groups. I don't know. Anybody else here has to do it in groups? So we have we have a good amount of students doing it. It's a lot. So our school, we do it in groups. What does that mean, Chief Ed? You have to do it in groups? You have to do it in a group? No, listen. individual here. Okay. It, when you do it in group, yes, it makes it so much easier, but it can be a challenge because you have some lazy persons that you have to really work with in a group. But at the end of the day, if you are working in a group and there are persons who are not pulling their weight, I want you to make sure that the teacher is aware of it. Speak to the teacher about it from early. Don't wait until last minute. Don't wait until the SBA must be submitted tomorrow. Then you say, sir, miss, you know, say so and so never do anything at the SBA. So what is sir and miss? What are they to do then? Because the grades must go in. I had to do my math SBA in a group, and I basically did the entire SBA by myself. You see that now? No, Chief Ed, no. Don't let that happen again. No, I would not want that for my child. I have two boys. I would not want that for my child. And so I know, you see, someone like you want to do well, and you want to make sure you get good grades, and so you will do whatever it takes. Say, come bother with those group members, them, and you will sit down and stay up all night to get it done. But guess what? The others, them, they are going to end up with good math grade that they did not contribute to, and they didn't even benefit from the research, from the work. And so what I suggest is that from now, let your teachers know who is not doing their part, and let the teacher speak to those persons, right? However, listener, one other thing though, when they submit the work, because you know, when some students are a little bit lazy, they might not put out 100% to make sure that it's done properly. Then you can, you know, look over it and, you know, put in your input and do whatever is necessary. But try your best. Not do it by yourself. That's not fair, and that's a lot of work. So start working on that now. For those group members who are not pulling their weights, hey, get the teacher's attention. Get the teacher's attention and let the teacher deal with it from now, because you're insisting that everybody's going to do it. And it doesn't mean that you're just going to take anything that they submit, but at least they must contribute something, and then you can look it over and just make sure that it's done properly. Don't want, and I'm sure you don't want that, because some of you don't even get to select your own groups that you're in, you know. So make sure that that is communicated, you know. Make sure, I don't know, like, no, some persons are still not able to meet face to face. You could have your SBA be done in Google Drive, you know, and your group members can be attached to it, so that anybody who makes changes to the document, you can see it immediately. You know, they don't necessarily have to send an email. So if any change, anybody, you can see, you can even track what it was before, you know. And make sure that you agree on any changes that are going to be made, right? um doing it individually, um you have at least you have a peace of mind, and you can pace yourself, and you don't have to be struggling with anybody, you know, or quarreling with anybody. So that is good. That is good as well, right? So pace yourself. I heard that CXC has extended exams to start in when June, July, you heard? I think, yeah, I think they have pushed it down. I have not yet heard the final what will be the final submission date for the SBA. But guess what? We're still not going to delay. You just work on it. Just work on it. It's best you get it done, and get it done early and out of the way, so that you can do all that you need to study. Do all that you need to study. Have enough time, you know, to study. So work on the SBA now, right? And just get it done. Right. So just work on your SBA and get it done. Don't just settle for a half mark. Don't just settle for the total SBA. The total on the mark scheme, you'll realize that the total marks is 40, right? Listen, work for no less than a 35 out of 40. that will give you you'll have a good grade going into CXC. So you know that your paper 2 and your paper 1 is you're going in there for 80% because your SBA is out of 20, right? So you just go in there, listen, just do your SBA. If you're doing drafts, I don't know if you get to do drafts, but at my school we give the students drafts and we collect them and we make corrections and we give it back to them to do it properly. So work at it and do it well. Just we will soon be wrapping up. If there's no more question on your SBA, on the SBA, the 2 SBA videos are up, and I think you should have a fairly good understanding by now, in terms of what to do for your SBA, right? You can watch about the 2 videos. Plus, I'm going to make sure that this is available on the channel as well. I need to tell you how you use my channel. The channel is set up in, well, you check the playlist. So I will not necessarily, I'm hoping to cover as many of the topics for POB as I possibly can. And then I move on to other subjects that I teach, maybe management of business or something like that. But I want to focus on one subject and then I move on. The playlist is what you must watch because your POB syllabus now is based on several sections. The playlist, and you make sure that you subscribe or you tell persons to subscribe so that they can follow the playlist. So you'll see I put like a little code in there so that you can know. So for example, production topic, in the playlist you'll see I cover all the topics under production, and that's section 5 of the syllabus, right? Again, I've covered all the topics on the first part of the syllabus, that is nature of business. So you'll find videos on all the topics in that section of the syllabus, and that's section 1 of the syllabus. So these are grade 10 for those of you in grade 11. These are grade 10 content. It will provide good revision for you. The internal organizational environment, I have just done 2 videos on that, like functions of management, responsibilities of management. A new topic, which is logistics and supply chain, you will see I've started that. So that is how, and that is section section 7 of the syllabus, right? So that's how you are going to know, that's how you're going to know how you're going to follow the playlist. Because if you just go on the channel and you just see videos, you know, you might not. So let's say you want to go on the channel and you want to look at a video that's on production, or you want to check out videos that are on logistics and supply chain, then you go to the playlist and you will see all the videos that are on that section of the syllabus, right? So you just follow then. I'm planning to do, I really can't do paper 1 on this because CXC does not want us to, and you know, in previous exams, previous years, you might have heard people say that they don't usually give back the paper 1s. They only usually give back the paper 2s. So yes, I do have the paper 1s and with answers, but I'm gonna work out, so I don't know. But what I'm planning to do as well is to do some paper 2 questions and post it, and I think that will help you. So I'm hoping to start from 2018, you know, and go back. There was no paper 2 in 2020, right? So from 2019, so I'll try to do some paper 2 questions and discuss the answers so that you can see the answers, so that you can follow as we get closer to exam. I'm also going to be running some exam marathons. Well, this is a paid session now, and of course we'll go through paper 1s as well, and we just do some other things. But I'm giving back to you, so I'll post some paper 2s on this channel, you know, so that, as you know, when you're practicing for your exams and so on, you can follow and you feel good going into your exams. I want to encourage you, watch the news, watch the news, you will realize that almost everything that's covered in POB is something related to what's happening around us. So even when we talk about trade union, you talk about what are some of the things that employees use to gain an upper hand. Um, in periods of dispute, you strike. You see people strike around you sometimes. We want justice. That kind of thing. They do a lot. They demonstrate a lot here in Jamaica sometimes. You know, um, so POB is something that's very relatable. And when you're given a question, you're asked to outline and you're asked to explain. If you can cite examples of what's happening around you, that's a plus for you. You understand me? You want to sound intelligent. You want to sound like you know what you're talking about. So it's about applying your knowledge and not just regurgitating or not just saying something word for word that's in the text or in your notes. Sometimes the swatting is not going to work. So you want to make sure that you understand the material and can apply it. Question: if I were to do lives more often, like what would you want me to share or talk about? So I'm contemplating in my head that I could do some lives. What would you want to see? Good afternoon, Lauren. What would you want to see in the lives? So if I say I come on maybe on a Saturday like now, what would you want me to talk about? Maybe like a particular topic. Text in the chat. Let me see. Maybe do some revision. Like what? Anybody has any ideas? So if I come on like some maybe twice per month or 3 times per month on a Saturday like now, Steams where you do CXC style questions with the chat. Say that again, Chief Ed. You want me to do, when I come on the chat, when I do the lives, you would want me to do CXC style questions. That's what you're saying. Past paper questions. You're giving me an idea. What I could do is I could use the chat to go through the paper tools. Like I ask questions and I could give you an opportunity to answer in the chat, and I tell you what the answer should be. What you say? Yes, if you agree. So we could make this live where I go through paper 2 questions. I can't go through paper 1 questions here, as I explained before. That's against and that's revision, right? Revision, Mackenzie. Because when we're going through the CXC past paper questions, we're going to do all the questions. And so if it's a topic that you've covered already, it's revision for you. And also if it's a topic that you've not yet covered, at least you will be able to learn something new. So I could do that. I could do that with the paper 2 questions, yes. Because I was just trying to figure out in my head what is the best thing to do. So we can, and so just like I did, I can notify you of the live. I think on a Saturday at 4 or 5. What time on a Saturday is best? 4 o'clock or 5? 4 p.m. or 5 p.m.? What do you say? What was today too early for you? Would you have preferred it at a later time, like 5 p.m. or 4? Type in the chat 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. so that I know. What time would be good for you for the revision? 4 p.m. or 5 p.m.? Raphaelia? Talk to me, everyone. Four p.m. or 5 p.m. or 4 p.m. is okay, I suppose. Yeah. So that's the conclusion. So what I'll do, as often as 5 p.m. Okay, 5 p.m. is better for you. All right, that's one person saying 5 p.m. Anybody else? 5 p.m. would be good. Okay, 5 p.m. All right. So we can start at 5 instead of 4. Good. And we will 5 p.m. for you. Fabulous. Okay. Good. So I'll try to do that as often as I can. But what I'll do, I'll give you like 3 days notice, and let you know when I'm gonna be on a Saturday, and we work past papers and we just discuss past papers. Because you're gonna do well on your exam. We're working for the one. You see, CXC cannot talk to you when you're finished. When CXC see your answer that you put down on your question, when the examiners see it, the examiners, all they have to do is say, wow, this person has answered so well. Full marks, full marks. We're not going to let them ask, what is this person trying to say, right? And you can do this. I know during this COVID time, it's a little bit hard. It's challenging for you, but hey, you can do this and you will do well. All right, so we are going to wrap up this live. But before I wrap up this live, yes, I'm a Christian and I love to pray. Can I tell you? Yes. All right, so we're gonna wrap up this live, and if you don't mind, I'd like to pray with you all. Thank you, Grandpa. All right, let's pray. Father, through your Son Jesus, we just come to you. We thank you, Lord, for this opportunity that we can be here on this live. Father, I pray for every student that is here, and I ask God that you will strengthen them during this time. I pray, Father God, that you will help them to focus even when they're studying, that they will not be distracted. And even as most of them are working on their SBAs now, I pray, Father, that they will understand so that they will be able to do well. And I pray for the support of their group members, that everybody will do what they're supposed to do, and that God, they will just see you in the midst of all of this. There are a lot of uncertainties, doubts at this time, even with COVID. But I pray, God, that you will keep them safe. I pray, Father, that for the necessary support that they need at this time, even parental support in the home, Lord, that the environment will be of such that will help them to focus, that will help them to succeed, that will just help them, Father God, to become all that you have created them to be. Father, we pray for your continued blessing on their lives. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. So I will, as you'll see on my videos, see you next time. Bye-bye. I wish I could hear from you, but I'm hearing from you in the chat. All right. Hope you really did learn something. All right. Okay, I'm gonna end this live now. Good to see you. Good to see you show up. And I'm gonna make sure that this live is shown on the channel. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Chief. Bye-bye, Teddy Bear. All right. Amen, Raphaelia. Amen. Bless God. Bye-bye. It looks like we're not ending this stream. All right, I'm gonna seriously end it now.